The massive exploration vessel Star Seeker hung silently in space, hidden behind Earth's moon. Inside the ship's main observation deck, lead scientist Drake stared at the holographic displays with all four of his eyes widened in disbelief. His scaled hands trembled as he rechecked the sensor readings for the 12th time. "This can't be right," he muttered, his tail twitching nervously. "Captain, you need to see this." Captain Green floated across the deck, her crystalline form catching the light from nearby displays. "What seems to be the problem, Drake?" "The readings from this planet. They're impossible. The gravity is crushing. 9.8 meters per second squared. The temperature swings from freezing to boiling across its surface. There's constant radiation from its star, and the atmosphere is filled with corrosive oxygen." Drake pointed at different charts with his three-fingered hand. "But that's not the impossible part." The captain's crystalline structure pulsed with curiosity. "Go on. There's life here. Not just simple organisms, but an advanced civilization." Drake brought up visual feeds from their stealth probes. "Look at these beings. They're walking around in this death trap like it's nothing." The screen showed scenes from across Earth: children playing in a park, construction workers building a skyscraper, athletes running marathons, and farmers tending their fields. Each image made the alien crew members flinch. "Are they using environmental suits?" Green asked, leaning closer to the displays. "No, that's bare skin they're showing," Drake exclaimed. "They're breathing the oxygen directly. They're letting the star's radiation hit their bodies. They're carrying heavy objects in this crushing gravity like it's normal." The bridge crew gathered around the displays, their various alien forms reflecting their evolved environments. Some floated in anti-gravity fields, others stayed in pressurized tanks, and a few wore full environmental suits just to function on the ship. "Look at this," Drake continued, bringing up new footage. "They have sporting events where they voluntarily jump into large bodies of dihydrogen monoxide, the universal solvent." Someone gasped. "They willingly submerge themselves in it. They call it swimming and do it for fun," Drake explained. "Their young ones learn it as a recreational activity." Captain Green's crystalline form flickered with concern. "How are they surviving? Our scientific models say this planet should be uninhabitable." Drake pulled up more data. "Their bodies are incredibly dense, filled with a calcium-based internal structure. They have layers of regenerating tissue that can resist radiation damage. Their lungs actually use the corrosive oxygen for energy. They're walking chemical processing plants." The crew watched in fascination as more scenes played out. Humans climbing mountains in thin air, exploring deep caves, crossing scorching deserts, and sailing across vast oceans. "Most remarkable," said the ship's medical officer, Dr. Stone. "Their bodies maintain a constant internal temperature despite external variations. They can survive losing significant amounts of their bodily fluids. They can heal from broken bones and torn flesh. Their immunity system actively fights off microscopic invaders." "Should we classify them as a threat?" Security Chief Banks asked, his defensive tentacles rippling. Drake shook his head. "No, I think we've discovered something unprecedented. These humans haven't just survived on a Class 13 Deathworld. They've thrived on it. Their adversity has made them incredibly adaptable." Captain Green made a decision. "Continue observations. We need to understand more about these humans before we make contact. And triple-check those readings. The Galactic Council will never believe this without solid evidence." As the crew returned to their stations, Drake remained at his console, watching the screens with wonder. On the planet below, billions of humans went about their daily lives, unaware that they had just changed the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. "Remarkable," he whispered. "Simply remarkable." The Great Hall of the Galactic Council buzzed with nervous energy. Hundreds of alien representatives floated, crawled, or hovered in their environmental bubbles as they watched the presentation screen. Expert Smith, a tall insectoid being, clicked his mandibles nervously as he prepared to share his findings about Earth. Esteemed council members, Smith began, his translator converting his clicks into standard speech. I stand before you with impossible data. The exploration vessel Starseeker has discovered a civilization on what should be an uninhabitable world. The chamber erupted in whispers and electromagnetic pulses of disbelief. Council Leader White raised all 6 appendages for silence. Explain yourself, Expert Smith, White commanded, her bioluminescent spots glowing with interest. Smith brought up the planetary classification chart. As you can see, we rank habitable worlds from Class 1 to Class 10, Class 1 being paradise worlds, and Class 10 being the harshest known inhabited planets. He paused for effect. Earth is beyond our scale. We had to create a new category. Class 13. Gasps echoed through the chamber. A Class 13 world meant certain death for most species. Look at these readings, Smith continued, displaying charts. The gravity alone should make complex life impossible. The atmospheric pressure would crush most beings. The temperature range is brutal, from freezing to boiling in the same region. And the oxygen levels. He shuddered. The oxygen levels would cause most species to burst into flames. A representative from the gas giant worlds wobbled in their containment field. How do they survive? Smith played video footage from Earth. They don't just survive. They build cities. They run for fun. They lift heavy objects as a hobby. They deliberately expose themselves to temperature extremes for relaxation. The footage showed humans in a sauna, then jumping into snow. The council members recoiled in horror. Most fascinating, said Dr. Stone, who had joined from the Starseeker via hologram. Their bodies actually need the high gravity to develop properly. They drink universal solvent, water, to survive. Their bones grow stronger when stressed. Even their muscles get bigger when damaged. Council Leader White leaned forward. Are you suggesting these humans evolved naturally in these conditions? Yes, Smith clicked excitedly. Their entire biology is built around adapting to conditions we consider lethal. They sleep through part of each day, becoming unconscious for hours, and they survive. They can break bones and heal stronger. They can lose limbs and make artificial replacements. Another council member, Director Brown, spoke up. This changes everything we know about planetary classification. Should we reclassify all our worlds? No, Smith answered. Earth is truly unique. We found no other world quite like it, and no other species that could survive there without massive technological assistance. The council chamber filled with debates. Some members wanted to quarantine Earth, fearing such powerful beings. Others wanted to study humans immediately. A few suggested making humans the new standard for resilience testing. Council Leader White called for order. Expert Smith, what do you recommend? Smith's antennae twitched thoughtfully. I recommend we continue observation, but prepare for contact. These humans, they're not just surviving in hell. They're building civilizations, creating art, exploring space. They're reaching for the stars from a world that should have killed them long ago. And if they reach us first, someone asked. Then we should welcome them, Smith replied. Any species that can turn a Deathworld into a cradle of civilization, that's not a species we want as enemies. Their adaptability makes them perfect allies. The council members looked at the images of Earth again. Its blue oceans that would dissolve their bodies, its green plants that produced deadly oxygen, its brown mountains the humans climbed for fun. And somewhere on that deadly ball of rock, billions of humans were going about their day, unaware that they had just been classified as the toughest species in known space. Council Leader White glowed brightly. Very well. Continue the study, and prepare first contact protocols. It seems we have much to learn from these Deathworlders. Head researcher Taylor adjusted his protective shell for the 100th time as he watched the humans through his camouflaged observation pod. His species normally lived in low-gravity gas clouds, making Earth's conditions particularly challenging for him. Even with the most advanced protection technology, He felt crushed by the planet's gravity. Recording day 15 of close observation, he spoke into his data recorder. The humans continue to surprise us with their resilience. Today, I witnessed something they call extreme sports. The pod's screen showed various scenes from around the globe. Taylor's 4 gas-filled chambers pulsed with excitement as he narrated. A group of humans deliberately jumped from a perfectly good aircraft, he reported, his voice rising in pitch. They fell through the crushing atmosphere at terminal velocity, experiencing forces that would tear most species apart. They call this skydiving and do it for entertainment. His assistant, Technician Reed, floated nearby in her own protective bubble. Should we stop them? They might hurt themselves. No, Taylor replied, watching in fascination as the humans deployed thin fabric devices to slow their descent. They're laughing. They enjoy this. The observation continued as they moved to a different location, a coastal area where massive waves of dihydrogen monoxide crashed against rocks. These humans, Taylor's voice trembled. They're riding the waves of universal solvent on small boards, the liquid that could dissolve most species' outer membranes, and they're playing in it. Their young ones build castles with wet minerals at the edge of these death waters. They call it a beach holiday. Reed recorded data frantically as they watched more activities. Humans lifting metal weights far heavier than their own bodies. Others running long distances under the deadly radiation of their sun. Some climbing vertical rock faces with minimal safety equipment. Most fascinating, Taylor noted, observing a group entering a small room. They're willingly entering a chamber that they heat to dangerous levels. They call it a sauna and claim it's relaxing. The next location showed humans in what they called a gym. These specimens deliberately damage their muscle fibers by lifting heavy objects repeatedly, Taylor reported. But instead of dying, they grow stronger. Their bodies repair the damage and prepare for even heavier loads. It defies everything we know about biology. Reed's protective bubble wobbled with concern as they watched humans sparring in a martial arts dojo. They're hitting each other for practice. Yes, Taylor's excitement made his gas chambers swirl with colors. They deliberately subject themselves to controlled combat to improve their fighting skills. Their bodies can take impacts that would shatter our shells, and they heal from the bruises within days. As night fell, Taylor made his most shocking discovery yet. They're becoming unconscious, all of them. It's happening across the entire hemisphere as their star sets. His instruments beeped frantically. Wait, this is normal. They call it sleep and do it every day. They willingly become unconscious for hours and consider it refreshing. Reed checked the readings again. And they dream during this state. Their brains create simulations while they're vulnerable. How do they survive as a species with such a dangerous shutdown period? Taylor watched as millions of humans peacefully entered their sleep state, completely trusting that they would wake up again. I think we've been asking the wrong question, he said thoughtfully. We keep wondering how humans survive these conditions, but they don't just survive. They thrive on challenge. Everything that should kill them makes them stronger instead. He began preparing his report for the council. These humans, they're not crazy or reckless as we first thought. They're the ultimate adaptation machines. Every deadly thing about their world, they've turned into an advantage. In the darkness below, a group of humans was planning a midnight hiking expedition up an active volcano, completely unaware that they were rewriting the galaxy's understanding of what was possible. The Galactic Council's space station hummed with nervous energy as they prepared for humanity's first official visit. Maintenance crews had spent weeks adjusting one section of the station to match Earth's deadly conditions: crushing gravity, high oxygen levels, and warm temperatures. Dr. Stone paced nervously in his protective field. Are we sure the human delegation will be comfortable in these conditions? According to our research, Expert Smith clicked through his mandibles. These conditions are actually quite mild compared to some Earth environments. The airlock cycled, and everyone held their breath. Those who had breath to hold. The human delegation walked in, wearing simple business suits rather than the expected environmental protection gear. No helmets, no air tanks, no gravity supports, just cloth covering parts of their bodies. The alien delegates instinctively backed away. Here were beings who could survive conditions that would kill most species instantly, walking around in nothing but fabric. Ambassador Miller, the human representative, smiled warmly. "Thank you for inviting us. We're honored to join the galactic community." His words caused several translator units to spark and reset. The humans were generating sound by pushing corrosive oxygen past vibrating throat membranes. "Welcome," Council Leader White managed to say, her bioluminescence flickering with anxiety. We've prepared this section to match your world's conditions." Miller looked around and chuckled. "Oh, this is quite comfortable. Though you could make it a bit warmer if you like. We humans enjoy a range of temperatures." The alien representatives exchanged worried glances. Warmer. The humans found these Deathworld conditions comfortable. "If I may," Dr. Stone floated forward in his containment bubble. "We'd like to perform some medical scans. With your permission, of course." "Of course." Miller stood still as the scanning beams passed over him. The medical hologram appeared, and Dr. Stone's bubble wobbled in shock. "Incredible. Your bone density, your muscle structure, your internal repair systems. You're basically walking biological factories." Another human delegate, Dr. Thompson, stepped forward. "We've reviewed your species database. It seems we're quite different from the galactic norm." "Different?" Smith's antennae twitched. "Your bodies actively fight invasive organisms. Your wounds close themselves. Your bones grow stronger when stressed. Your muscles tear and rebuild bigger. You consume chemicals that would poison most species for pleasure." "Ah, you mean coffee?" Thompson smiled. "Would anyone like to try some?" The entire alien delegation recoiled in horror. Ambassador Miller sensed their discomfort. "Perhaps we should demonstrate our adaptability in a more practical way. We noticed your gravity generators were struggling in this section. Would you like us to help with repairs?" Council Leader White's glow dimmed in confusion. "The repairs would require working in the high-gravity area without protection." "Not a problem," Miller said. He rolled up his sleeves and walked toward the maintenance panel. The aliens watched in amazement as he easily lifted a heavy metal plate that would normally require mechanical assistance. "Fascinating," Dr. Stone whispered, recording everything. They used their Deathworld strength so casually. As the humans continued their demonstration of repair work, more alien observers gathered. They watched as the humans handled tools with precise finger control, communicated through air vibrations, maintained their internal temperature despite changing conditions, and even laughed about the light gravity. "I believe," Council Leader White said quietly to her advisors, "we need to rethink our entire understanding of species classification. These humans, they don't need protection from harsh conditions. They mastered them, and they're offering to teach us how." In the background, Ambassador Miller was explaining how humans had turned their planet's challenges into opportunities for growth, unaware that his casual demonstration of changing a power coupling was causing a philosophical crisis among the watching aliens. "And to think," Smith clicked softly, "this is just their diplomatic team. Wait until they show us their emergency responders." The testing chamber aboard the Galactic Council station looked more like a torture chamber to the alien observers. Expert Smith stood with other scientists behind thick protective barriers, watching as the human volunteers prepared for their trials. "Are you certain you want to proceed?" Smith clicked nervously at the 3 human test subjects. These challenges were designed for testing survival suits and emergency equipment, not bare organisms. Officer Wilson, a rescue specialist from Earth, grinned. "Don't worry. This looks like a normal training day for us." The first test chamber opened. Inside, the gravity generators were set to 3 times Earth normal. The aliens watched in horror as Wilson walked in without any support gear. Not only did she walk normally, but she also started doing push-ups. "Impossible," Dr. Stone whispered from his protective bubble. Her bones should be crushing under that force. The next chamber featured rapid temperature changes. The second human, firefighter Roberts, entered wearing only light protective clothing. The chamber cycled from freezing to boiling temperatures within minutes. His core temperature is stable. One of the alien technicians checked the readings 3 times. He's actively sweating to cool down and shivering to heat up. His body is fighting the environment and winning. The third chamber was filled with what the aliens considered toxic atmosphere mixtures. The third human, Explorer Jones, breathed them all without issue. Their lungs, Dr. Stone marveled. They're filtering and processing gases that would kill most species instantly. But the real shock came when the humans started showing their recreational activities. Wilson set up what she called a basic gym workout. The aliens watched in fascination as she repeatedly lifted heavy weights, deliberately tearing and rebuilding her muscles. Roberts demonstrated rescue techniques, carrying weights equivalent to 2 aliens up and down stairs in the high-gravity chamber. "This is what we do to stay fit," Wilson explained between exercises. "Actually, the gravity here is a bit light compared to our heavy training days." The observation room erupted in chaos when Jones casually mentioned that humans sometimes ran long distances for fun. "You deliberately exhaust yourselves." Council leader White's glow pulsed with confusion. "In your Deathworld gravity? Under your radioactive sun?" "Well, yeah," Jones shrugged. "We call them marathons. The original one was actually a battle messenger running to deliver news. Now we do it for sport. Some people run even longer distances." The aliens were still processing this when Roberts suggested demonstrating human swimming abilities. "You want us to fill a chamber with dihydrogen monoxide?" The safety officer's protective field crackled with alarm. "The universal solvent? Absolutely not." "We drink it too," Wilson added helpfully, taking the sip from her water bottle. Several aliens had to be treated for shock. The final test involved cognitive function under stress. The humans were subjected to various environmental pressures while solving complex problems. Not only did they maintain clear thinking, but they seemed to perform better under pressure. "Remarkable," Smith noted in his report. "The very conditions that should kill them actually improve their performance. They've evolved to turn stress into strength." Council leader White had seen enough. "I think we can end the tests. These humans have proven themselves beyond any doubt." "End the tests?" Wilson looked disappointed. "But we haven't even shown you our extreme sports yet. Wait until you see wingsuit flying." Wing-suit flying. An alien technician's translator struggled with the concept. "Yeah, we put on special suits and jump from really high places, gliding through the air like flying creatures," Jones explained enthusiastically. The entire alien observation team immediately voted to end the testing session. As the humans gathered their minimal equipment, Dr. Stone turned to Smith. "We designed these chambers to test the absolute limits of survival, and they treat them like a light workout." "Indeed," Smith clicked thoughtfully. "Perhaps we should be asking them to design our survival tests instead of the other way around." The emergency alarms on Space Station 7 screamed through the corridors. Pirates had attacked the civilian station, damaging critical systems before fleeing. Now, over 3,000 aliens were trapped as the station's environment spiraled out of control. "Main life support is failing," Station Director Black reported, his crystalline form flickering with stress. "Gravity generators are malfunctioning. Temperature control is offline. We have less than 2 hours before conditions become lethal." The rescue ships hovering nearby could only watch helplessly. Their environmental systems couldn't handle the deteriorating conditions inside the station. No known species could survive long enough to reach the control room and fix the damage. Then a small ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. "This is Emergency Response Team Delta from Earth," a calm human voice transmitted. "We heard your distress call. Permission to dock." Director Black's crystal structure pulsed with hope. The humans. But the conditions inside. "What's the situation?" The human captain, Fire Chief Anderson, asked as his ship docked. Gravity increasing to 3 times normal. Temperature rising past safe limits. Oxygen levels critical. The control room is 10 decks up through damaged sections. Sounds like a Tuesday, Anderson replied. Team, gear up. Basic equipment only. We need to move fast. The station's crew watched in awe as 6 humans emerged wearing only light protective clothing. No environmental suits, no gravity supports, just tough fabric, some tools, and breathing masks. The masks are just for the smoke, Anderson explained, seeing their shock. Everything else is pretty normal for us. The humans moved through the station with incredible speed, their Deathworld muscles easily handling the increased gravity. They carried injured aliens to safety, their tough bodies resisting the rising heat. How are they doing this? Dr. Stone watched from the emergency command center. The conditions in there would kill most species in minutes. Anderson's team reached a blocked corridor. The humans worked together to lift a fallen beam that would normally require heavy machinery. Their bodies, evolved in Earth's gravity, made it look easy. Chief, one of the human rescuers called out, found some trapped civilians in a sealed room. Atmosphere inside is mostly methane. Perfect, Anderson replied. That's breathable for the gas-based species. Force the door, let them out. The humans used their superior strength to pry open stuck doors, their resilient bodies handling physical stresses that would tear other species apart. They worked tirelessly in conditions that their Deathworld evolution had prepared them for. Finally, they reached the control room. The temperature had risen to levels that would cook most species. Just like a summer day in Phoenix, one of the humans joked as they began repairs. Their fingers, with their incredible human dexterity, worked quickly to fix delicate components. Their bodies sweated efficiently, keeping them cool enough to think clearly. Within minutes, the station's systems began recovering. Gravity returned to normal. Temperature dropped. Life support stabilized. The aliens couldn't believe it. The humans had done in 45 minutes what their best emergency crews had deemed impossible. Thank you, Director Black said as the human team regrouped. But how did you handle those conditions so easily? Anderson shrugged. Honestly, this was pretty mild compared to some of our training scenarios. Last month we practiced in active volcanoes. The aliens stared in silence. Speaking of training, Anderson continued, we could help you set up better emergency protocols. Maybe teach your crews some of our techniques. You would do that? The director's crystal form sparkled with interest. Of course, it's what we do. Anderson smiled. Besides, your artificial gravity is perfect for our rookie training. They need to learn how to work in light conditions too. As the human team helped with final repairs, news of their feats spread across the galaxy. The species everyone had pitied for evolving on a Deathworld had just turned that harsh evolution into their greatest strength. The emergency channels that day carried an unusual message. When disaster strikes, call Earth. Their Deathworld training might just save your life. 6 months after the Space Station 7 rescue, the Galactic Council's main chamber looked very different. Humans walked freely among the alien representatives, their presence no longer causing panic. Some aliens had even started removing their protective gear after learning that human environmental preferences weren't instantly lethal. Expert Smith stood at the podium, presenting his latest findings to the council. The human impact on our society has been remarkable, he clicked excitedly. In just half a standard year, they've revolutionized our emergency response protocols. The screens behind him showed statistics and images. Human-designed rescue training facilities had opened on 12 worlds. Emergency response times had improved by 300%. Survival rates in crisis situations had doubled. But most importantly, Smith continued, they've taught us to stop fearing hostile environments and start adapting to them. Council leader White's bioluminescence glowed with approval. Would our human friends care to comment on their training programs? Fire Chief Anderson stepped forward, now a familiar face in the council chamber. We've learned as much from you as you've learned from us, he said. Your species each have unique strengths. We're just helping you use them better. The screens showed images of different training programs. Gaseous aliens learning to navigate liquid environments using human-designed protective gear. Crystal beings studying human bone structure to improve their own resistance to impacts. Even the most delicate species were learning to handle tougher conditions. The humans call it cross-training. Director Black explained, his crystal form now reinforced with human-inspired engineering. We learn from each other's evolutionary advantages. Dr. Stone floated forward in a much smaller protective bubble than before. Their medical knowledge has been invaluable. We now understand how to strengthen our bodies instead of just protecting them. Some species have even started exercising. The chamber buzzed with amused agreement. The concept of voluntarily stressing one's body for improvement had been revolutionary to many aliens. But perhaps the most significant change, Smith clicked thoughtfully, has been psychological. Humans have taught us that challenging conditions aren't just obstacles, they're opportunities for growth. The screen showed scenes from the new Galactic Emergency Response Academy on Mars. Aliens of all species trained alongside humans, learning to handle increasingly difficult situations. What had once been considered impossible was now becoming routine. We've even had some species request to visit Earth, Anderson added with a smile. They want to experience a Class 13 world firsthand, under careful supervision, of course. The council members murmured in amazement. The idea of voluntarily visiting a Deathworld would have been unthinkable just months ago. Which brings us to our next proposal, Council Leader White announced. We wish to reclassify Earth, not as a Deathworld, but as the galaxy's premier training ground for survival specialists. The vote was unanimous. Earth would become the center for a new type of galactic preparation, one that emphasized adaptation over avoidance. There's an old human saying, Anderson said after the vote, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. We've lived that truth for millennia. Now we can share that strength with the galaxy. As the session ended, Smith watched humans and aliens mingling freely in the chamber. Some aliens were even trying human foods and drinks, their bodies protected by new adaptive technologies inspired by human biology. To think, he clicked to Dr. Stone. We once pitied them for evolving on such a harsh world. Now the galaxy's strongest species are learning from humanity's disadvantages. In the background, a group of aliens listened intently as Anderson described Earth's weather patterns. Instead of horror, their faces showed fascination. They weren't hearing about a death world anymore. They were learning about the cradle of the galaxy's most adaptable species. The age of isolation was over. The era of adaptation had begun. And it all started when aliens discovered that humans didn't just survive on a Class 13 death world. They'd made it their strength.